Hello, everybody. How are you doing? What's going on? Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Beautiful. The microphone's good. It's always good when we start out like that. Okay, how's everybody doing? It's 6:39 on a Saturday night, and Storm Team Meteorologist Noah Bergen here, and Laurel Blanchard with you. As soon as I find the remote to fix the camera, I'm going to do that. So how's everybody doing? We've got ourselves a very busy week ahead, and by very busy, I mean very. So I'm going to give this a hot second so we get some more people on here watching, and appreciate it. Let me show you on my phone how I do this. If you wouldn't mind clicking the share button, which is down here, this little arrow right there, and then click share to your friends and family so we can get as many people on here watching. That's number one. And number two, if you can't see the graphics we're working on, turn your phone sideways, and then you can see it full screen, and you could swipe to toggle on and off the comments. So if it's hard for you to see, turn your portrait lock off, because I get asked this a lot with live streams. People say they can't see. Turn your phone sideways, make sure the portrait orientation is off. So I'm going to give this another 60 seconds so we get as many people on here watching. If you wouldn't mind clicking the share button, we would really appreciate that. And if you have any questions, please ask away. That would be really appreciated. I want this to be a discussion rather than me presenting the whole time. What's up, Heather? Hi, Barbara. Barbara, how are you? Wanda, appreciate it. Christine, yes, I'm worried about this one. Marvin, how are you? Lisa, Tammy, Wanda, how are you? Sound should be pretty good, Cameron. Check your phone. Lydia Hicks, how are you? Let me know where you're watching from. If you have a question, comment, or a concern, we would really appreciate you sharing this feed. Hi, Darren Irwin. Hi, Jennifer. All right, so with that, let's get right into it. So a couple of things. This is going to be a major storm, very major storm. And we've got a lot of new information to share with you tonight. So first, we've got a state of emergency that's in effect, which if you hopefully have our Fox 35 News app on your phone, you got this push alert that there is now most of the state is under a state of emergency, and it's most of the counties in central Florida. So if you're in the red, Governor DeSantis has put you in a state of emergency, which includes basically all of our area other than Gainesville, all of the Tampa area, and then all the way down to South Florida, although I don't really think there's going to be a lot of major impact in, let's say, the Miami area. So that's the first thing. I'm going to try to move this along here so I can get as much to you early on in this, and then I'll take a lot of your questions, and please keep sharing the feed and everything on here as we go forward. So let me show you the current satellite tonight of Milton, because this is a rapidly intensifying storm, and it looks ominous on the satellite for sure. So to get you caught up to speed, as of the 5 o'clock advisory, we've got winds of 40, and it's moving only at 3 miles an hour. So this is a very slow moving storm right now. That will not be the case the whole lifespan of it, but it's a very slow mover right now. Susan, Davenport, I think there'll be major impact there. Greetings from Orlando, Meadow Woods, Yaleria. Sorry if I mispronounce your names. Appreciate you. What's expected in Kissimmee? Edna Martinez. I will get to that in a second. Hi, Orlando, Carly. Louisville, Sherry. What's up? Thankfully, nothing up there. Will it get to Cat 4? Arletty, I think it's possible. Yes. Daytona, you probably will end up under a hurricane warning. Polk County, Robert. Hello. Orlando, Kissimmee, Jessica. I'm going to get into all of the this town, that town, this county, that county. We're going to get to that. Just let me tee you up here with the setup first. So here's the infrared satellite, and pretty clear to see. I'm going to put my annotator on here and make this super nice, super big for you to see, so it's crystal clear, all of the drawings. So a couple of things. Here's Florida, duh. Now look, there's your developing hurricane down over here. But look at all this stuff out ahead of the actual storm. It's going to rain a lot Monday and Tuesday. So this is the hurricane. These clouds are a separate low that's going to come across the south central peninsula Monday. And it might be very deceiving to a lot of you when it's downpouring and it's windy Monday and Tuesday, thinking the forecast changed, it was wrong, and this came out of nowhere. That's expected. It's going to be very odd because there's really two areas of low pressure. One's going to end up being a hurricane. That one will just be rain out ahead of it. So this mass of clouds is rain out ahead of it, and then there is the developing system. Now, if we take a closer look at this down here, a couple of takeaways. This is concerning to me in several ways. One, I mean, back in the early days of meteorology when they didn't have all the... I'm sitting in a weather center with 50 monitors. Back when they didn't have any of this, they were forecasting by hand. And one of the things they looked at by hand is the shape of the cloud canopy with a storm. If you were tracking this way back in the day, and look how circular this is. That tells you there's very little wind shear, because if there was wind shear, it would be leaning one way or the other. It would look ragged. It's very circular. In fact, it's almost a perfect circle, which tells me this is in an environment that is very conducive for organizing, for strengthening, for convection, and that roundness is going to continue to expand. Now, there's a low-level center in there somewhere. It's a little bit disjointed. It's like right where that dot is. So the low-level winds are orbiting around a point that's like right there. So that's going to be the eventual center. So you've got wind blowing like that, wind blowing like this, and that is your storm that's going to track towards Florida by Monday night, Tuesday, and then next Wednesday. So keep your questions, comments, concerns coming. I'm going to get to all of them. I've got a couple more graphics on the setup, then we'll get to the cone and the models and everything else. So a couple of other things on the setup. If you look, this is the water vapor imagery. Look at the green down there. That's the hurricane developing. If I zoom this out, look at all the brown over the Midwest. That's our cold front, which, as Brooks was talking about yesterday morning, Brooks and Jess were extensively. Let me see if I can get my drawer back on here. That's our cold front. And initially, it was thought that this cold front, this is fall air. It's pristine. If you're up in Tennessee, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, it's beautiful. That front is farther north than it looked, which is why this hurricane is going to come further north, I think, than a lot of the guidance is suggesting. This is not an Ian setup. I know there's a lot of comparisons. I've been seeing a lot of people saying, is this Ian 2.0 where it's going to change a 180 12 hours before? No. This is a completely different meteorological setup than Ian was. In fact, there's not a lot that's similar. It's very, very different fundamentally, and I'm going to go through why. But this is your cold front, which will prevent this from making it to the areas impacted by Helene in the Carolinas. So this will not be able to go much more north than about the I-4 corridor. It's going to track something like this and then fall apart over here, because eventually later next week this front will move to the south and squash all the remnants into the southwestern parts of the Atlantic. Quickly on the visible imagery, if you look, now I know this looks kind of grainy. Now if you look right here, the sun is setting. This is a great time to see this. Look right here, right where the mouse is. See how it looks like bubbling? The storms are really starting to blow up right around the center of Milton. And it would not shock me if this is a hurricane tomorrow night at this rate, which is not really expected, or maybe tomorrow afternoon. That's way ahead of what it looked like it was going to be earlier. But if you look on here, you can see, zoom it way in so you can see what I'm referring to here. Just a couple more things on the setup. These little ripples, that's intense thunderstorms around the center. And you can make out the inflow and the outflow. You see how the clouds are streaking like this? That's the inflow coming in on the right side. You see them clearing out, coming down the mountains of Mexico in this way. And the very circular cloud canopy around the center, indicating it's in a very relatively free area of wind shear, meaning it's ripe for intensification. So the setup out of the way, let's get to the cone now. And I'm going to take my head off here so you can see this full screen quickly. So let me show you the whole thing zoomed out. And I'll play through this nice and slow for you. So let me zoom this in and walk you through it. So by 2 p.m. tomorrow, we've got a 65-mile-an-hour tropical storm, gust to 75. Probably tomorrow evening we get this to become a hurricane. I changed my mind. I'm putting my head back here so you can see me. Hi, there we are. Let me put this back on there. So by tomorrow night, we have a hurricane. By Monday, we have a strong Cat 1, if not a Cat 2. By 2 a.m. Tuesday, it starts to bend to the northeast. We've got a Cat 2, 105, 125. By Tuesday afternoon, we're talking about a major. Now, there's a window in here, I think, right about in here, where this could really go nuclear and way overperform the forecast. There's some of our hurricane models that have this as a Category 4 by right here. Right where that line is, some of our new advanced hurricane models say this is going to be a Category 4 at that point, which clearly is well above the current intensity forecast. So that's something in the near term we're going to watch is Monday into Tuesday as this enters a very hot part of the water basin in the Gulf with low wind shear. Does it go absolutely gangbusters on the intensity and way overshoot the intensity forecast? Because that would make the forecast eventually for landfall interesting. So that's one asterisk in your head to watch here, is what happens Monday night and Tuesday. Does it shoot up to Cat 4 strength? I think that's possible. This looks like a very small storm, and these small storms can really ramp up and ramp down in intensity very quickly. This is the opposite of Helene. It's a small storm. It's going to be not a fast mover. It's going to be faster than Ian, but slower than Helene, if that makes sense. So let me play this forward a little bit more. Take you out now more. And I'm going to pull up some of your comments so I can see the rest of this on here. Keep your comments coming, by the way. I promise I'm not ignoring your comments. I will answer every single one when I take a pause here from all the graphics. Hi, Matt. What's that?
I said I've been answering a lot in the comments.
And Laurel's here. The lovely Laurel Blanchard is here helping out, so thank you for that. What about Lakeland, Cape Coral? I see a lot of people asking about individual places, so I'll get to that. As soon as I do the track and the models, I'll get to the individual towns and counties and what you can expect here, there, and everywhere. If you're flying on Wednesday to any Central Florida airport, just forget it. It's not happening. So let's just make that clear. If you're sitting there asking about flights out of Tampa or Orlando, both airports will probably be closed Wednesday. I think that's pretty clear. So if that helps you plan anything, I would expect very limited to probably zero flight operations at TPA and MCO Wednesday. Maybe even closed as soon as Tuesday night. So if that helps you plan that, there's that. So here's the big picture cone. You can see that track and the bend to the northeast. Now, I want you to not... I'm going against my own grain and my own opinion, because normally I say we don't plot the center line here at Fox 35, and most meteorologists, most enterprises, they don't anymore, because as an industry we're trying to get the public away from looking at the center line of a cone. But in this particular case, I added it back on for a good reason, because if this were to happen, see the eye coming, we're talking about Wednesday afternoon landfall. If the eye were to pass just north of Tampa like that, let me take myself full screen here so you can focus on this. If the eye were to pass just north of Tampa like that, this is a worst case scenario, 1921 hurricane repeat. You're talking about, it's hard to fathom because it hasn't happened. Tampa is so built up. This has not happened since there's been buildings and apartments and condos and houses and restaurants and this, that, and everything else right on the water in Tampa. These places haven't been hit by this in modern times. So this is what we have feared for a long time. We thought it might happen with Ian. It didn't. It went to Fort Myers. But if this were to happen, where the eye goes just north of Tampa, there will be double the surge of what happened in Helene there, possibly more than double. And if you have followed me for a while, you know I am not an alarmist. I just try to call things the way they are. That's just the fact. And there's still people with debris on their houses, or on the street, double if not more the surge from Helene. 10 feet more. So that's the concern in the worst case scenario here, is that the eye goes where it's currently forecast. Okay, all of the scary talk out of the way. Let me zoom out. Let me turn off actually, I don't want to turn it off. I just want you to see how wide the cone is here now. So at landfall, see the red line? Remember, the cone tells you where the center may go. The cone is about 376 miles wide. That is huge still. Now, they've left it big for good reason. But if the center were to go down here, there's zero surge in Tampa because you're going to have offshore flow. We're still going to get big impacts in the I-4 corridor, Orlando, Daytona, everywhere along I-4. But the massive surge is going to be once again in Fort Myers and Naples. I don't even want to fathom what they would have to deal with again. Yeah, that's kind of a scary thought, to be honest. So this is why I say don't focus on the centerline track yet, because there's still a large variance of where it may go. If the eye goes down here, Tampa Bay gets hardly any surge. The surge will be all to the east side of the storm circulation. Remember, if you divide the forward motion, so the hurricane's moving this way. Let me make this super clear for you to see. When we talk about quadrants in a hurricane, you take the storm's forward motion, which is this way, and draw 4 quadrants. The worst surge is always on these right 2 sides. And that's where the surge probably will be major to significant to possibly catastrophic, is on these right 2 sides. So that's why I say if the track goes further north, the surge moves further north. There is a scenario here if the eye goes way up here, a lot of the surge might be, obviously we care about everybody. There's still people who live there, but these are less populated areas of Citrus County and then north of Citrus County. But it's those right 2 quadrants east of the eye where the surge, because this has such a long fetch across the Gulf in this very rare track, the surge will be significant. Potentially major, potentially life-threatening, catastrophic on those right 2 quadrants. And again, right now, it could be worst-case scenario in Tampa, not seen since 1921. It could miss Tampa. The surge could be in Fort Myers. We don't know that yet. So you don't need to freak out quite yet if you're in the Tampa area. But it is a very real threat. This is not Ian. This is coming in at a very different angle. The threat is there, and it is real for a generational storm surge in the Tampa area. Will that actually happen? Nobody knows yet. And I'm not ready to say that's going to happen yet, but I will say clearly it could happen. So that's what we're going to watch for tomorrow is hopefully some better track continuity. Let me show you the spaghetti modeling now, because this I think will give you a good handle on the status of things here. So here's the cone with the latest spaghetti modeling. Notice the bend, and I got to admit it's actually pretty good agreement. Now it's not set in stone yet, but remember there's the cone, the hurricane center, where the center may go, and then each line here is a different tropical model. And notice the majority tonight do take this somewhere between Tampa and Spring Hill, somewhere between St. Petersburg up to Citrus County, and then this is where the eye would go, right over Orlando. In this case, you're talking about Charlie level winds over a more widespread area. And I think that's a fair comparison for Orlando area folks. If you were here, it was a very concentrated core of 70 to 90-ish mile an hour gusts. This would be that to a similar extent if the eye took this kind of path over very heavily populated areas of the I-4 corridor. But again, the track. Just because there's that tight clustering right now all along the I-4 corridor, that could shift north or south tomorrow. So to make clear, this is going to happen. There will be a major hurricane. It's going to hit Florida on Wednesday. What we don't know yet is where it goes. That will dictate where the worst surge is, where the heaviest of rain is, where the worst wind is inland. But it's going to go across the peninsula. That's pretty clear. Let me show you some other things now. Here's the view from Clearwater Beach, which you can see all this. Our great digital director, who's behind me, made mention when he saw this camera. He's like, "That's shocking," and I was like, "Yeah, that's all the sand that's been excavated from the roads and the beach from Helene." And we don't have cameras that face other parts, but there's sand everywhere that kind of looks like snow piled up from up north on the side of the. So that's all what's left over from Helene there. But it's pretty quiet there right now, and you see in Orlando today it's pretty quiet, and then from Port Canaveral it's pretty quiet. So you might be wondering, why is this going to occur? If Helene just occurred, didn't it zap out all the ocean water? Well, unfortunately, no. This is the cone with the ocean heat content, and notice this little pop of red right here. That's called the loop current. The energy comes out of the Caribbean, it does a loop here, and then it goes over here, and that becomes the Gulf Stream, which goes up to off of Greenland. That's the hottest water there is. It's very hot water for tropical systems. And this will pass right over that loop current with very low wind shear. You see right here, the center is going to pass right over that core of very hot water right here, and that's when it will probably reach its maximum intensity. This would be Tuesday night and Wednesday right here. But you can see even all along this path, I'll query this so you can see even over here, medium ocean heat content, hot, medium, 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 hot, even closer to shore, hot. So it's come down after Helene, but it's still very ripe and conducive. And something else to monitor too is you see the Gulf Stream over here. It could actually re-strengthen once it's over the Gulf Stream on the Atlantic side next Thursday. So a couple of fast bullets here, and then I'll look more at your comments because I haven't in a second. So here's what you need to know if you're just joining us with Milton. Rapid intensification is expected Monday and Tuesday. Landfall will occur. No if, maybe, could, possibly, 50% chance, no waffle words. It will occur Wednesday. Whether it's the morning or night, we don't know yet. But landfall will occur Wednesday. And the expectation is that a major hurricane will be at landfall. Is there a possibility the wind shear could weaken it at landfall? There's some indication of that. But I'll explain why I don't think that's going to occur in a second. But that's the expectation as of right now. So a couple of other things. The track is the most uncertain thing right now. Again, does the track go just northwest of Tampa, and this is a generational storm surge of catastrophic implications in Tampa Bay? It could. Could it go south of there over Sarasota, and Tampa Bay gets hardly any storm surge, and it's down by Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch, Venice, Manatee, Sarasota County, all the way down towards Fort Myers and Naples? That's possible too. So the track is the most unknown aspect of this whole forecast as of right now. We'll have a much better handle on the track Sunday night. So tonight, tomorrow day, tomorrow afternoon, the models are going to waffle back and forth. We're just too far out yet. Maybe tomorrow night's data, we should start to get a consensus. And now, I don't have anything more on this, but it's possible as soon as tomorrow we could have some kind of evacuations, mandatory evacuations throughout Central Florida, or mainly the western part of Florida, West Central Florida, starting as soon as tomorrow night. On the right side of Milton, as we talked about, those right quadrants, a major storm surge, potentially catastrophic storm surge, is possible. If the eye passes just north of Tampa, it could rival the 1921 hurricane. That's the famed hurricane that produced an extreme surge into Tampa Bay. Obviously, Tampa was nothing like it is now then. And along and north of the track, there will be significant rain and flooding. So those things I can tell you. Let me show you some models now, because I've talked a lot and haven't showed you any models. So let's get into the models quickly, shall we? So if you have a question or a comment, please put it in here. I'll take a quick pause before we get into the models, and I'll look at some of your comments here. I want to make sure everybody gets their question answered. So before I go through your comments, if you're in Central Florida, anywhere, if you watch Fox 35, Fox 13, by the way, we've got the co-team here. If you know family or friends in the Tampa area, make sure that they're watching Fox 13 Tampa. That's our sister station and our friends and colleagues in the Tampa market. So between them and us, we've got all of the central part of the peninsula covered with this hurricane. But if you're in Central Florida, because I know you might be wondering, okay, what should we be doing now? I would advise tomorrow, if you're in Orlando, Daytona Beach, Melbourne, DeLand, anywhere along I-4, Altamont, Winter Park, Tampa, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, the villages, food, some water, some supplies. I would stock up on your hurricane kit. I would top it off, make sure it's ready. If you need gas for a generator, if you have one. Tomorrow is the day that if you haven't started, you were busy today. Look, it's a Saturday. I know you might have had plans. You may have been out. There's been a lot of great football games on. Maybe you're inside. You haven't been following the weather. If you've been just kind of relaxing today and haven't done much, tomorrow you should start getting things in order of a hurricane kit. We've talked extensively. If you live in Florida, you know, you're hardy. You've been through it. But executing your hurricane plan should be happening now or tomorrow. and be finishing up Monday, because by Tuesday afternoon we'll have the outer bands coming in. So if you're in Central Florida, if you're asking about this, there, that, there, you start preparing tomorrow. All right, so let me look at some of your comments quick. Port Richey, Florida, about 6 miles inland. It depends on the track. Port Richey, it could be 10 to 12 feet. It could be 2 feet. It depends on the track. We just don't know yet. Good question, though. Joshua, nervous. Ian, we had water come through our roof. Now, the thing about this is it's not going to be as slow of a mover as Ian. Ian dumped, what was it, like 20, 30 inches of rain in like Mary, in Orange County. This is not going to be as slow of a mover as Ian. So I don't think, and we don't think, that there's as much of a risk of Ian-level flooding here with this. There will be the potential for over 10 inches or a foot of rain, but I don't think like 35 inches of rain or something crazy like that is on the books as a potential right now. Lake County, Mount Dora, Tavares impact, Barry. Potential tropical storm conditions at a minimum. I'd say more likely hurricane conditions in Mount Dora, Tavares on Wednesday, Barry. That's what I would say. Will Titusville get hit? Yes, Barbara. About in Miami, probably not much. Do you think Denellen could take a hit? If so, bad, Ashley? Yes. Volusia County? Yes. Naples surge depends on the track, Jim. Could be 10 feet, could be 2 feet. Depends on the track. We don't know the track yet. What about Brevard County, Natasha Ritchie? Depends on the track, but at a minimum, tropical storm conditions, probably some hurricane conditions for a few hours. Key West, Joe, there could be a surge even far away in Key West, but it probably wouldn't be significant. You're welcome, Jose in St. Cloud. Appreciate you, brother. Flagler impact, Joe, could be very significant in Flagler County. Very significant. Futurecast model, Darren, I'm going to show that in 1 second. Winter Garden area, yes. Has Tampa ever had a major storm go right over it like this one could? Peter, yes, it was in 1921. So it's been a very long time. So let me get back and show you some models. Now keep the questions coming. Appreciate y'all asking those. So let's get back to some models. So here's the GFS in Euro. So notice as we go through Sunday and Monday, this starts to strengthen quite a bit. And then as we go into Tuesday, bear with me, I'm going to get some water quick. Sorry, I needed some water. As we go into Tuesday, this will start to strengthen. And this is when we're talking about a hurricane coming in. Now, notice the models. There's some speed difference and its position difference. So when you're looking at this, this is the... excuse me, sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. So in red is the GFS, in yellow is the Euro. And notice the GFS has a landfall just north of Tampa, 10 a.m. Wednesday, while the Euro is back over here. So there is some speed difference in the timing. Like I said, some point Wednesday. But I'll play this forward and notice the GFS takes the center to Daytona Beach. Here's the center. So the GFS kind of goes like that. And the Euro is a little bit further south. See, the Euro kind of does a little bit of a thing like this. That would be the center go. So there's the GFS, this top line. Then there's the Euro like that, the bottom line. This is Thursday morning. Still could be having impacts, and then they pull away by Thursday night. Let me show you our Fox model, because this will give you a good idea of how this is going to play out. So, Sunday, quickly, out ahead of this, there'll be a lot of showers and storms. Here's Sunday night. Here's Monday, especially South Florida. This is out ahead of the actual hurricane. Here's Monday night. But let me zoom this out and show you. This is our long-range model. It's not as accurate as our short-range one. We're not in view of it yet. It only runs out about 80 hours. But notice, this is the radar with the isobars. And notice, there's your hurricane, pretty clear. Rapid intensification Monday night and Tuesday. Now notice Tuesday, notice what happens here. Very interesting. Our Fox model, I don't know if I buy this. Might be a little too much. Notice that this is the jet stream aloft. Notice you've got I'll explain to you the pattern here. So you've got high pressure right here. Sorry, our weather system's a little overloaded with how many graphics I have in it right now. It's a little laggy. You've got high pressure right there. You've got your hurricane here. And you've got this massive ridge trough. We call this a negative phase of the P&A over the U.S. So this trough right here is going to try to grab this and pull it north. Now, it can only do so much. See this trough here? See these big arrows? This is a massive cold front over New England. Big storm over eastern Canada. Big high over here. And that trough is going to try, this trough right here, is going to try to pick the hurricane up and move it more north as opposed to due east. And that's why there's this discrepancy in the steering, is because the models all disagree on how far south does this trough dig into the Carolinas. That's number one. But the idea is, given this pattern of a high here, a low here, a ridge and a trough, a stronger hurricane sooner is probably going to feel the impacts of that more because it's taller and move more north. A weaker hurricane probably goes more towards Fort Myers. Just how I see it. Given this pattern over the United States, stronger sooner, Tampa north. Weaker, slower, Fort Myers. Or just south of Tampa, maybe Sarasota. So the stronger it is sooner, the further north it's going to go. That's just how it probably will play out. So notice our Fox model. Tuesday night, we start to get some of these outer bands in here. You see these outer bands here. Now, this radar simulation is not representative. It's very underrepresentative of how this would look. But notice here's Wednesday. There's your hurricane, and now notice we've got these fierce outer bands starting to come in here. Probably would be a significant tornado threat here in these outer bands that would progress across the state. So Wednesday, in any scenario, is a hurricane day. Most schools will probably be closed. You should be inside, so on and so forth, and watching us. Now notice the Fox model is well north of the GFS and the Euro. Now, again, this radar is not representative. There'll be more rain on here than this indicates. But the our Fox model is probably too far north, if you ask me. I have a hard time, and I'll turn on the town so you can see. I have a hard time thinking. Focus on the isobars in the rain, in the wind. I have a hard time thinking. I'm going to turn off the reflectivity here because I think it's not representative. So let me put precipitable water. I'll just put the moisture on for you and make that. Yeah. So there you go. You see how. Actually, just let me turn that off and turn on the isobars here. There you go. Turn off the clouds. So there's you see the eye right here. It brings the eye in north of Citrus County. Then the eye goes over the villages. And then the eye goes over Daytona Beach. This is a very far north scenario. Is it possible? Yes. I don't think it's what's going to happen. But you see our Fox model is up here. Remember, the GFS is like this, and the European model is like that. So all three have very different impacts. Remember, all the rain is north. All the rain is north of the track. The strongest wind is right along the track on both sides of the track. Then the storm surge would be on the south side of the track. So those are three very different scenarios. You see our Fox model here, how that comes in. Let me show you the GFS and the Euro quickly. Zoomed in so you can see. Then I'll look at some of your comments and questions. So here's the GFS model. Notice strengthening. This is this afternoon's model run. See here, October 5. This is Tuesday. This is Tuesday at 8 o'clock. There's your hurricane, major hurricane. Now, something that could weaken this on landfall is there's going to be some wind shear in the atmosphere going like this. There's going to be some westerly wind shear, but it's actually not really that. The wind shear is more like this. Right when this gets close to landfall, there'll be some wind shear that kicks up over Florida. Now, ordinarily, wind shear for a hurricane means it's going to weaken. This one is an interesting case because the shear vector is this way, meaning the wind shear is blowing this way. The storm is also moving that direction. So the wind shear, if you just take the hurricane out of the atmosphere in your head for a second, the ambient wind in the atmosphere, if the hurricane wasn't there, is blowing in that direction. So when the shear vector, the wind shear, is parallel to the hurricane, you generally don't see a lot of weakening. And sometimes it doesn't weaken at all, especially if it's got a compact core. So that's why the next 2-3 days will be crucial. If it has a very tight core, it will be immune to this wind shear when it comes to landfall. And even if it doesn't, the wind shear may not even do much to it because, again, the storm's motion is northeast, and also the wind shear vector is parallel to that. So if you're sitting there wondering, can this weaken at landfall? Yes, maybe, but the chances are probably pretty low. Probably pretty low. At least the way it looks right now. Something else would have to change. But here's the GFS model with the wind zoomed in. And notice this was what would be your worst case scenario for Tampa. Let me turn on all the towns here so you can see. Give it a second. It'll load here. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Our system is hating me right now because there's so many graphics in here. But so this is now... I know I'm doing a lot of jumping around. So this is now Wednesday at 6 in the morning. So notice, here comes your hurricane winds. Here they come. Here's 9 in the morning. Now notice, this is the worst case scenario for Tampa. Let's just call it like it is. And look at these winds here, 100 miles an hour. This effect of funneling all of this water into Tampa Bay would be a generational, catastrophic, I don't even want to imagine surge. If it looks like this is the track that ends up happening, there will be mass evacuations in Pinellas County, and hopefully it's all done orderly and they've got plans for it. But this is actually a worst-case scenario for Tampa if the eye goes like this of a major hurricane. There's no two ways about it. With this funneling effect of all of the wind and water right into Tampa Bay, you'd be talking about a massive storm surge of extreme potential. And then from there, notice where the eye goes. Now you get your Charlie level winds potentially over Orlando. You see, you're talking about hurricane force gusts, Disney, Altamont, Deltona. This is Wednesday afternoon. Titusville, Cocoa Beach, Melbourne. So this is very much a Central Florida storm, according to the GFS. There's the eye. Notice the eye maybe even passes over Volusia County, and then the eye exits. And then right on the back side, notice how the wind kicks up. As soon as the eye gets back over the water, the return flow might actually be stronger for the I-4 corridor, Lake Mary, Daytona Beach, Tavares, Wednesday night, where the northwest side is stronger hurricane gusts than the preceding side. So that's something to watch. Let's show you the European model now quickly. This will be the last model I show you. Let me show you the European model. So here's the Euro. Walk you through this here. Let me zoom it in. Nice and slow. We'll turn off that. Turn this off, automated. So we'll just zoom it right in so you can see. So here we go. We're coming in. This is Wednesday. Notice it's slower. This is Wednesday at 2. We're still offshore. Here's Wednesday at 8. It's a little bit further south, but it's similar. It's similar. And you see the eye goes paralleling I-4, and then the European model puts the eye of the hurricane right over Ocoee at 5 in the morning Thursday. That would be something. And you see the large wind radius here. But again, this is why I say the track. The heaviest rain is, here's the center. The heaviest, because you might be asking about my town, this town. It depends on the track. If you end up north of the center like this, there's 8 to 15, 10 to 20, 12 to 24, something like that. 8 to 15, 10 to 25 inches of rain and flooding. If you're south of it, so in this case, Brevard, the Space Coast, this is a significant tornado threat down here. This is where your tornadoes happen. So rain up here, tornadoes down here, and then right along, when you get either side of the eye wall, you get this side of the eye wall, and then this side of the eye wall, even inland, you get your strongest gusts. So very much in play all of Central Florida to get hurricane force gusts, and then you see it pulls away. But this is a concern too. Notice how it strengthens so much. Wilbur by the Sea, Volusia County, folks, this is very strong. It's not going to be a true surge because it's pulling away, but this will be major wave action into coastal Flagler, coastal Volusia County Thursday that could do some significant erosion and impact to areas that do not want to hear that, of Volusia County and Flagler County on Thursday. So if you're anywhere near Edgewater, Daytona Beach, Wilbur by the Sea, Palm Coast, up to St. Augustine, we've covered these houses and these neighborhoods and stories extensively. John Brown and Luann have been out there many times, and our reporters have the last few months and year. That's something to watch too. It won't be, again, a true storm surge because the hurricane's pulling away, so it's elevated wave action into that coastline. But the winds could really ramp up on the backside into those areas on Thursday. So to put a bow tie on all of this, this is a major hurricane. North of the track, significant rain. South of the track, tornado potential. Right along it, on either side, hurricane force winds, the gusts. But I want to stress the track is unknown, and the track, my friends, is going to dictate who sees what. We just don't know yet. That's the bottom line. I don't know. No other meteorologist knows. I gave you my best guess. If you want my personal opinion, I'll give it to you. I think this will trend a little bit further north than they have it right now, just because I think this is going to be stronger than they think. And if in my personal opinion, if you want to know what I think, as soon as this loads, I'll draw it. I think this is going to bend probably like that. Somewhere maybe within this. Somewhere like it'll have a little more of a curve to it. Something like that maybe. I would say something within this circle is where the eye would go, if you're asking me right now to put money on it or to give you my opinion, is somewhere in here. So that's what I would say. Is it possible it trends back south and the eye goes down here? Yes, but I think it's more likely it's going to move more north than it would more south. Just how I see it for right now. So that's your lowdown. Laurel Blanchard's in tonight. Meteorologist Laurel Blanchard's going to have a full update on what time are you guys on tonight? 10?
10 on Fox 35 website.
We're streaming, right?
Yes.
So on the Fox Local app, and Laurel will have updates on our social and all of our stuff too. And make sure you tune in to see Laurel. She'll have your latest tonight. But yeah, let me look at some of your comments before I let you go, as we've been on here for a while. So tomorrow I would start executing preparations, getting things ready. But again, I want to stress, we don't know the specific track yet. And changes to that could mean changes to who sees how bad. And hopefully we'll start to know that better tomorrow night, but it might be as late as Monday morning till we can really specifically say, okay, Volusia County, this wind and this rain. Tampa Bay, this surge, this wind. Titusville, this wind, this surge. Orlando, this wind, this amount of rain. It might be another day and a half until we can specifically say that. We just can't yet. How would it be in Lakeland? Gemini, potentially hurricane force. How far inland would you feel hurricane strength winds, Leslie? I think the gusts would probably go across the peninsula. The gusts. I don't know about the sustained winds, but certainly the gusts, I think, would go all the way across the peninsula. So if the eye's over Daytona Shores as it exits, should I leave my oceanfront condo? You shouldn't leave unless you're ordered to evacuate or you don't feel safe. So if you're in an evacuation zone, you should. But I would not make that decision at this time. So hopefully that gives you guys a good overview of everything. I appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you watching. Keep it here to us. We'll have updates and coverage on TV, on air, online, the apps, our Fox Local app. We want you to be able to trust us, and we appreciate you watching us, and we will be here to answer your questions and get everything you need to know about this hurricane. And we will get you rocking and rolling closer to Halloween and hopefully be the end of hurricane season. But I should tell you, I don't think this will be the last system in the Gulf or the Caribbean for the year. There are some pretty solid signals. The third week of October, something could form in the Caribbean. So if you're wondering, is this it for the season? I would not say that yet. I would not say that just quite yet. Sabrina should you change your flight to Thursday? It's possible. There's still major delays and impacts from the wind on Thursday, so that's really tough to say. Max winds prediction, Newport Richey, Austin, certainly 100-plus gusts, I would say. Inbound flights Thursday, Janelle, it's going to be a mess with flights Thursday. Things will be backlogged and canceled, so it'll be a mess of coming back in from out of Orlando on Thursday. It should reopen, I would think, at some point Thursday, but yeah. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate you watching. Again, follow us on air, online as we go forward. Watch us on TV, the Fox Local app, everything else. And Laura will have an update tonight at 10, and tomorrow morning we'll have more as well. So we'll get you through this. It's going to be a big one, I think, but we just got to hone in on the details for the track to really specify who is going to see what. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. Be safe, everybody.
Are you done? Did you done?
Do you like that graphic I made at the end as a placeholder?
Are you still live?
That, yeah, I just leave that up for a few seconds because it will cut off the. I muted it.
Okay.
It'll cut off the audio, so it's like a cute little placeholder of like.
Got it.
Yeah.